Thank you, Debda. Thank you for moderating my session today. Hello, everyone. Hello, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you're joining from. My name is Deepthi Goguri, and today I would like to present on the topic fundamentals of Azure SQL database. So this session is the basic fundamentals like 101 Azure SQL databases. So this session is mainly for all the folks who are just about to get started with Azure, who wanted to learn Azure, who wanted to start their uh, Azure journey. So yeah, let's dive in. Before moving ahead, let me tell you this that for zooming in, if you like to zoom in the Microsoft Teams screen, use the Control plus mouse wheel and move around the mouse dragging. And if you would like to turn on the live captions, it's top right side of the Microsoft Teams to get that English um, live captions, English live captions. A little bit introduction about me. I'm a database administrator with 8 years of experience in managing SQL Server and databases. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and Microsoft certified solution expert. I did my master's in computer technology at Eastern Illinois University, and I do blog for dbanuggets.com. That's my website. And if you would like to have any questions later, you can contact me on Twitter at dbanuggets. So, as an overview, what we are going to see in this session is first, we are going to see the deployment options we have for Azure SQL and what are the service tiers and compute tiers we have. And we will also see a very simple demo of how to create Azure SQL database by using the Azure portal. And at the end, we are going to see the takeaways, what we have learned, and the next steps. This is the important slide where you'll get the collection of all the uh, required sources that you can go ahead and start your Azure journey. So why I started learning Azure in the first place? I started my Azure journey a couple of months ago because Azure is the future of the cloud technologies. And many companies are planning to migrate. They already migrated, or they're planning to migrate very quickly in a rapid space. And I'm a DBA, on-prem DBA, and my company is wanted to move to the Azure as quickly as they can. So as a on-prem DBA, I need to know how to migrate to the SQL, how the Azure SQL works, and how we can migrate actually. So I need to expand my ability to work on the Azure as well. Many DBAs along with me, like including me, we have that fear of like, hey, we are migrating to Azure. That means will I lose my job, or as a DBA, role is itself is going away? But that's not true because as a DBA, on-prem DBA, we will give away certain responsibility to Microsoft, like for example, the patching, upgrading, those kind of things. Because once we move to the Azure SQL database, we do not have to upgrade the database, right? It's versionless. But the other responsibilities like performance tuning and setting up the alerts and monitoring the servers or the databases, we still have to do these things, right? So our role is going to be expanded. We still have our DBAs, but DBA in the cloud kind of responsibilities. And learning Azure will provide great career opportunities. Like if you go ahead and look into the jobs and the responsibilities that we have to perform, you have so many very nice career opportunities along with a very good pay. And if you learn the Azure and have those Azure certifications, it will give much value to you because employers are basically looking for the potential candidates who have these certifications that can prove, right, you have the ability to do all of the responsibilities. So taking the Azure certification, starting your journey will be definitely useful for the future DBA, like DBA in the cloud. So what are the deployment options we have in the Azure? We do have infrastructure as a service and a platform as a service. Under infrastructure as a service, we have SQL Server on Azure VM. And under the platform as a service, we have two deployment options, which are Azure SQL Managed Instance and Azure SQL Database. So let's dive into each one of these deployment options. First, let's talk about SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine. It's simply SQL Server, which uh, which is built on Azure Virtual Machine, just like the SQL Server on-prem. But what is the difference between two, right? SQL Server on-prem or SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine. SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine, Microsoft is going to do the automated backups and security patches. And if you are on the older versions of SQL Server, by being on the C or by being your SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine, it will give the extended security updates for your older versions of SQL Server. That's the benefit here. But you do not have that benefit if you have your SQL Server on-prem, right? The updates for the older versions, we cannot do that on-prem because support is not there for SQL Server 2008 especially. But if your SQL Server is on Azure Virtual Machine, you have the complete access of your operating system as well as your SQL Server instance. So you can use all of the SQL Server instant capabilities as well. And you can choose the SQL Server and operating system versions. Whatever versions you wanted to choose, you can choose that freely. And you can deploy the SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine in two ways. You can manually deploy them by creating the Azure virtual machine manually and installing the SQL Server manually. But simply with a single click, you can do that by using images, the pre-installed packages of the images. Basically, these images have pre-installed SQL Server on the Azure virtual machine. You have the ability to choose which versions you want, combination of versions, right? And when you use images to install the SQL Server on Azure VM, the SQL IAS extension is automatically installed. So what is this extension? This is a free extension, which uses for the automatic management and administrative tasks for your Azure virtual machine. Basically, it will unlock certain features which won't be there if you don't have this extension. So if you manually install right your SQL Server on Azure virtual machine, you need to go ahead and manually install this extension. That's the difference. So what is this image, right? If you see here, under the SQL virtual machine, right side your screen, you have all of these images. Like the first one is like SQL Server 2019 on Windows 2019. So you can choose all of those, the combination of SQL version and the operating system version. And by a single click, you can go ahead and build the virtual machine, and the SQL Server is already there on the virtual machine. What about the SQL managed instance? In the SQL Server on Azure VM, you will have the capability and ability to go ahead and access the operating system. But in the managed instance, you do not have the ability to see the operating system. Microsoft is going to take care of the operating system completely. But still, um, you can use all of the managed instance abilities and capabilities, features like SQL Server Agent, Service Broker, DB Mail, linked servers. So if you if you can just leave the responsibility of the operating system, but you still wanted to use the instances, you can go ahead and use this particular deployment option, managed instance. But if you only want a database, you do not want to access the operating system, or you do not want to use the instance-wide features, right? You just wanted to use the database features, then Azure SQL Database is right for you. Like if you are going to build the modern cloud applications, all you need is a SQL database, then this option is right for you. You will only get the SQL database. You will not get the entire instance, or you'll not have the operating system. All you get simply a database in the full recovery model. You cannot change the recovery model. It's always full. And Azure SQL database can handle up till 4 terabyte of space, like the storage. But if you wanted to increase, you can go ahead and put it in a different upgraded service tier, which is hyperscale, which can handle up to 100 terabyte of space. And as you know, like as I said, like SQL in the Azure SQL database, we cannot install the server. We won't get any server, right? Server instance. So that is the reason we do not have SQL Server agent. And it is very highly available because underneath the hood, high availability is already built in with the readable secondaries. So it is highly available with the service level agreement of highly available 99.995%, which is like no downtime at all. Now, if we compare certain features, right, with Azure SQL Database and versus Azure SQL Managed Instance, let's talk about a couple of the features which are different. And to access the complete list, please follow these Microsoft Docs, which I placed here. So the change data capture is not available in Azure SQL Database, but it's still there in Managed Instance. Common language runtime not available in SQL Database, Azure SQL Database, but it's there in Managed Instance. The cross database queries, the three-part name like database.schema.table, you cannot use that in Azure SQL DB. The cross database transactions, you cannot do it using Azure SQL DB. But Elastic queries are something that can solve this problem, the cross database transactions problem. And you do not have the database mail because you only get the database, right? You do not get the server. There is no resource governor, but you have that on managed instance. Especially for the Azure SQL database, we have that automatic tuning option. Automatic tuning of the indexes. And so what this automatic tuning does is it will go ahead and monitor these indexes. So you have to be careful when you enable it on the Azure SQL database because it might also drop the database if it is not being used. For example, if your report run only a couple of months at a time, then you need to make sure that this option is right to be enabled. But we do have automatic tuning, especially for Azure SQL database. And there is no SQL Server agent because we do not have a server, right? We just get that SQL database. So what are the uses of Azure SQL database? To build the applications quickly, we can use Azure SQL database because it reduces the cost a lot because we don't have to buy any physical hardware, right? We do not have to do any patching or upgrades because it's versionless. And we do have high availability features already built in. If you have your SQL Server on-prem, you need to go ahead and manually create that high availability readable secondaries. But here in Azure SQL database, it's already built in. So because we have a high availability already built in, it's it improves the performance, scalability, and security wise also it's very nice because you can go ahead and create the private links which are very secure in Azure SQL database. So how can we deploy all of these deployment options? The three deployment options we have seen. We can use Azure Portal to deploy it, and we can use Azure command line interface, or we can use infrastructure as a code. We can use PowerShell or Pulumi, Terraform, or Bicep as the infrastructure as a code. But in this session, we are going to see how to create the Azure SQL database in a basic way by using the Azure portal. So how much does it cost? How do we know? So there are two different purchasing models. One is DTU model, which is database transaction unit. It is a basic model, very easy to be chosen, but also a little bit complicated to separate the storage and compute. We cannot divide the compute and storage because DTU is like bundle of resources together. The memory IO combinedly together, it comes under the DTU. So you cannot choose it separately. Like I want this much of memory and this much of IO. We cannot choose that. No matter if you use like more memory and less amount of storage, you still have to pay for the entire DTU. And under the database transaction unit, we have three basic tiers. the service tiers: basic, standard, and premium. So once you wanted to upgrade from basic DTU to the standard or premium, the performance also will increase as well as the price. So DTU is the older model that they introduced for the Azure SQL database when they actually introduced the Azure SQL DB. But recently they introduced the vCore model, which is recommended by Microsoft. And vCore model is only model which is available for SQL managed instance. For the Azure SQL database, you can choose DTU or vCore. So what is this vCore and how it is different from DTU? DTU, we have bundle of resources together, right? But for the vCore, we can choose compute as well as the storage completely separately. So if you want to have more number of vCores, you can increase, and the storage also you can increase separately. So accordingly, you can pay the price as well. You can both separate them. But for the DTU, if you use the compute less and the storage more, you have to pay for the entire, no matter if you use or not. So under the vCore model, we have three service tiers, which is general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical. We are going to see about each of these tiers in the coming slide. And under the vCore model, we have Azure Hybrid benefit. So basically what that means is if you have on-premise SQL Server licenses, right, you can use those licenses for the Azure as well, and also get that percentage of discount up till 40%. And there is also known as reserved capacity. Like if you can commit a certain amount of resources for 1 or up to 3 years, you can get a very good amount of discount as well. And to know the difference between each of the service tier under DTU as well as vCore, please follow the Microsoft Docs under the slide below. So we have discussed about database transaction unit, right? So we have three different tiers: basic, standard, and premium. So as I told you, it shows like the DTU is separate from data max size. No matter if you use 1 GB of data max size, you still have to pay for that 10 GB. So you do not have easy to actually easy to click a button, but then you cannot separate them because all the resources are combined together in one DTU. So basically, according to the Microsoft, one DTU is one database data transaction per unit. When it comes under the vCore, right? This is the recommended tier from Microsoft. We have general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical. And under the general purpose, we have two compute tiers: provision and serverless. So you can separately decide how much vCore you want, how much storage you want, and according to how much you scale up or scale down, you can see the estimated amount of cost also changing depending upon how much resources are you choosing. The service tiers, we have three service tiers under the vCore model, right? The general purpose, business critical, and hyperscale. As we move from left to right, the cost of it also increases, but then features also will be increasing. Let's talk about the general purpose. General purpose, as the name says, it is used for the general business purposes. It is the lowest model, lowest budget model service tier. And we do have one primary, and we do not have any secondary standbys. So when you see the business critical, when compared with the general purpose, we do have secondary standbys for the business critical, but for the general purpose, there is no standby. So if we have to fail over, it will take a couple of minutes to set up that secondary standbys. And we do have serverless option under the general purpose, which we are going to discuss in the next slide. And we can use up till 80 vCores under the general purpose. And the size of the database can be up till 4 terabyte. When it comes to the business critical, by the name itself, it says for the business critical databases, mostly for the OLTP systems, if you are using in-memory OLTP, or if you wanted to have some reporting purposes, if you are using the databases for the reporting purposes, you already have the secondary databases, readable secondaries built in automatically. And there is low latency here in the business critical. But in regarding the cost, it is a little bit high cost when compared with the general purpose. And we can use up till 128 vCores, and the database size will be like up till 4 terabytes. But if you want to expand that size, right, size of the database, your database is completely growing very quickly. That's when the hyperscale comes in, where it can handle up till 100 terabyte of data. And it is only used for the single Azure SQL databases only. We do not have this option for Azure managed instance. We only have hyperscale for single Azure SQL databases. And we do have point in time restores. And we do have 4 readable secondaries here. And we can use up till 80 vCores under the hyperscale. Again, for the complete list of differences between these service tiers, please look into this Microsoft Docs down here. And under the general purpose, right? This first general purpose service tier, we do have 2 compute tiers, the provision and serverless. Provision meaning for the regular workloads, we all the time we have a certain amount of workload on our database. In that case, we will choose provision. And once we choose provision, no matter if we are using those resources or not, we are going to pay for that resources. But that is not the case with the serverless. Serverless have so many options. Like for example, if you are not using your database in certain amount of time, like for example, after business hours, you do not need, nobody will be connected to your databases, right? In that case, you can go ahead and pause your database. We do have that option for the serverless, and we can go ahead and choose minimum and maximum vCores, meaning even though if you have, even though if you use the databases during the business hours, it will only scale up and scale down between that minimum and maximum vCores. But once your database go into like auto pause mode, right? You do not have to pay for the compute, like for the memory. You do not pay for that. You only have to pay for the storage, so that we can save so much of money over there, right? Because we are pausing our databases. We are not using the resources. We are only paying for the storage. Some of the points to remember when you are using the Azure SQL database. I tried to use database while using the Azure SQL database. It did not work. It failed because that particular use database doesn't work with Azure SQL database, because we just have one single database, and we do not get the server where it is actually pointing to, right? And once you choose the hyperscale, right? If you think, okay, my database is growing, I wanted to increase the tier, let me upgrade the tier to hyperscale. So once you select the hyperscale service tier, you cannot go back to general or business critical. You need to make sure you know it. And we don't mention the maximum data size in hyperscale. Up till 100 terabytes, Microsoft is going to take care of it. And it is going to increase in 10 GB in size of chunks. So how to create Azure SQL database? First, logging into portal.azure.com with your ID and password. And you can see your subscription, right? And go ahead and click on the Azure SQL service. But if you cannot find it under the Azure services, go ahead and search for Azure SQL. Click on the Azure SQL service. That's when it will open up a page where you can go ahead and create the database. Click create. It will open up the select SQL deployment option. You have all of the deployment options that we have talked about: SQL database, SQL managed instance, and SQL virtual machine. Here we are going to create the SQL database, right? Azure SQL DB. Click create. So we have the tabs, right? The basics, networking, security tabs. Let's go one thing at a time. So once you click on the basics, give the subscription name that you have and select the resource group. But if you do not have a resource group, you can go ahead and create new and give it a name of the resource group. Click OK. and then give the database name. While giving the database name, there are a couple of requirements that you need to follow, like it should not have special characters, or the length should be only 128 characters, those kind of things. So give the database name, and then as we are creating the Azure SQL database, um, we do need to have something to connect when we are using Management Studio, right? So that is the reason we create the logical server where we put this database on, so that once we connect to the Management Studio, we feel like we have a server, but that's not the server. That's a logical server where we are connecting to the Azure SQL DB. So let's create the logical server, give the name of the server name, and then give the server admin login, give it a password, confirm the password, and then select the location where you are, because it is very important to choose the location where you are, because that will also depend how much like do how much of response times do we have. If you choose the location where you are, you'll get the very fast response times. Click OK. And then the next is, it will ask you like, do you want to choose SQL Elastic Pool? SQL Elastic Pool is nothing but the collection of the databases which we put in a pool. So basically, the advantage that we have is they will share the resources. They all share the resources between them in a pool, within the pool. So are we creating multiple databases? No, we are just creating one database for our demo. So let's press no, which is by default, it's no. And then under the compute and storage, we have the option to configure. So once you click there, the compute and storage configure, you see the service and compute tiers. So under the service tier, if you see that we discussed under the vCore model, we have general purpose, hyperscale, business critical, and under the DTU, we have basic, standard, and premium. So let's go ahead and choose general purpose because that's the lowest cost one, right? This is just my demo. General purpose, I clicked. And under the compute tier, right, we have two options here, two tiers here, provision and serverless. I do not want to auto pause here because this is just a demo. I wanted to put it on provision. Click on provision. And for the hardware configuration, right, let's go ahead and change the configuration just to see how many hardware configurations we have. We have Gen 5 and the other series. As you go from Gen 5 to the up series, the price also increases. So especially if you see the M series, DC series, these are for the hyperscale. But for the lowest cost purpose, Gen 5 is the regular one. So I choose Gen 5 here. Click OK. And go ahead and choose how many vCores you want and the database size. Depending upon how you are scaling, the estimated cost per month will also be dependent. You can check how much it cost per month right side your screen in the cost summary. Would you like to make this database zone redundant? No, I do not want. This is just a demo. But otherwise, if you choose zone redundant, if you would like to be zone redundant, press yes and click apply. And it will ask you like backup storage redundancy. Locally redundant means it will put the 3 multiple copies of the database on the primary location. Zone redundant meaning it will place it in a different locations as well, the copies of the database. Geo redundant meaning it will place copies of the database within the primary as well as at the other location, like asynchronously, it will copy the data to the other locations as well. So for my demo, I'm just putting it locally redundant, and then I'll go to the networking section. And in the network connectivity, right, we do have private endpoint and the public endpoint. So private endpoint is like the most secured one, where it is so difficult you cannot enter. It is the securest endpoint, right? Having the private endpoint. But for my demo, I'm putting it on public endpoint. And if you go to the firewall rules, right, this is the important section. But for my demo, I wanted to add my client IP address so that I can connect by using my local management studio as well. So basically, adding current IP address will give the access for my local computer to access the Azure SQL database. So I'm pressing yes on it. And then coming to the connection policies, right? You have certain connection policies and encryption connections like transparent layer security. You can choose from here. And then the next tab is security. Um, Security is inside the security, right? You have the Azure Defender for SQL. So basically, it will give you any vulnerabilities assessments that you have. It will cost, this feature cost per month, 15 USD per month. So I do not want to do it now. So I'll press not now. The next tab is additional settings. If you wanted to enable Azure Defender, I do not want to enable it right now. And so here in the additional settings, we have what do you want to use? Like, do you want to use the backup of the database to be restored? Or if you wanted to just create a brand new database, or you wanted to create a sample database, it will automatically create a AdventureWorks sample database. But here I wanted to just create an empty database so that I can go ahead and create a table later to show you how it works. And I'm clicking on none. I wanted to create the empty database. And always the collation is, this particular collation is the default collation. And we always have to choose it before creating the database itself. Later it will be, later it is tough to change. You cannot change it. And in the maintenance window, right, you can choose, so under which maintenance window your database can be updated. It's by default, system default is 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. So I click that. And tags are nothing but easy to just tag your databases so that you can, while choosing the purchase options and checking for the pricing, it will be easy for you by creating the tags to your database. If you review and create, just go ahead and review all of the options that you chosen, and then click on create. It will give you like submitting deployment, right? The deployment is on progress. So it will take like a couple of seconds while creating your Azure SQL database. And during the process, you will see, right, the first logical server 9 is being created, and then your database is going to be created. Once your deployment is complete, it says your deployment is complete, and you can go and click on go to resource. It will show you what is the logical server name and to which name you have to connect to your SQL database, like Azure SQL database, right? So here you have the server name. So click on it, click to the clipboard so that it will copy the server name. Go to your management studio to connect. Just paste the server name, and by using that, uh, by using the admin account that you created while creating the logical server, you use by connecting with those credentials, by using SQL Server authentication, by giving the ID and password, connect. Where you can see the logical server, right? It just looks like the server, like the SQL Server instance. But if you see you do not have a SQL agent on it, all you can see is a database, and you can see the security within the database. Currently, we do not have any tables, but let me go ahead and create a table, a very simple table, inserting 3 records. Once I do that and go ahead and select from the table, it will give the data. So depending upon the service tier as well, the how fast you are getting your results, also depending upon the size of your database and then the tier you have. So that's how you can go ahead and create a database, connect by using your local virtual machine by adding your IP address inside your while you're configuring, right, to give that access to connect to the Azure SQL database. But also you can go ahead and backup and restore the databases. You can manually back up the database, but let's see a little bit about backup and restore. So how do the backup happens for the Azure SQL database? It is automatically globally replicated storage it uses. You do not have to do anything. You have multiple copies of your database, um, highly available. And every week once, it takes full backup. And for every 5 to 10 minutes, we have T-log backups. And differential backup happens every 12 hours once. So how do, like, for example, let's say I have an Azure SQL database, but I wanted to take a backup of it. Manually, I wanted to take a backup of it because I wanted to restore that database somewhere else, right? So how do I take a manual backup? You can take the manual backup by connecting to the database using Azure Data Studio or using Management Studio. So by using the Management Studio, right-clicking the database, go to Tasks, Export Data Tier Application. Click that, it will ask to give a location, whether you wanted to store it on the local disk or whether you wanted to store it on Microsoft Azure. It will create a backpack file which you can use for restoring. So I'll give a location, my local computer location, demo.backpack. And by selecting next, it will go ahead and create a backpack file in that particular location. I can restore the database by using that backpack file as well. So how do I do by using the Azure Data Studio, right? Once you connect to the Azure Data Studio, right-click the database, you directly have that backup option to take the backup of the database. So what are the tools for the migration, right? You might be having the questions like, okay, now I understood, but how do I migrate our database? Like, are there any tools that can tell me like which tier will be best or which deployment option will be best for me? Because I have no idea about whether I have to go to general purpose or like business critical or hyperscale, or which deployment option should I use. There are certain tools that you can use for the migration. There is like total cost of ownership TCO calculator, which can give you the estimation of cost, because this is very important tool to calculate like how much cost it might estimate. Because for every feature that we use for the Azure, it have cost associated with it. So this tool is helpful. And there is SKU recommender in SKU recommender. So basically what this recommender does is it will um, recommend you the service tier that will be best for your workloads by using the data migration assistant. So this SKU recommender will use a data migration assistant to calculate, like to recommend you which tier will be the best for your workloads. And the database migration assistance is also useful to check for the compatibility issues before you migrate to the database, to the Azure. And there are like a couple of other tools, SQL Azure Migration Wizard and Azure Database Migration Services. You can use these tools as well. And for the Azure Database Migration Services, you have a cost associated for that feature to be used. So what are the key takeaways? As I started learning about Azure a couple of months ago, I felt Azure SQL is really cool. It is easy to learn, though it seemed to be tough when you look at all the things. You might be getting overwhelmed by looking at all of the things. But if you take one step at a time, starting from the basic, you will find it easy. And anyone can get started, no matter if you are from the if you are from the DBA background, or if you know SQL or not. It is easy to follow, easy steps, and there are several valuable resources out there which can help you get started. So I'm going to provide you all of those resources. And intelligent performance, like as I said, the automatic tuning kind of options that are especially available for Azure SQL database that we can use. And there is also query store feature that we can use for checking the performance of the performance and the slow running queries, why your queries are running slow, uh, those kind of options like query store feature also comes under the intelligent performance feature, and it will save a lot of money because you do not have to buy any physical hardware, right? And less maintenance when compared with the SQL Server on premise, right? And so this is the important slide that I wanted to talk about, like how to start your Azure journey. The main important slide that I wanted, the main important key takeaway is the last one, Microsoft Virtual Training Days. Most of like many people doesn't know about it. I recently came to know about it. There are virtual training days going like throughout the year. You can go ahead and sign it up. It's completely free, sponsored by Microsoft. You can take the training and then you'll get a coupon code to take your certification for free. Amazing, right? So that is the important takeaway here. And all the other resources that before the last one are the resources that you can start learning. The Microsoft Learn is the best way to start your Azure journey from the basic up to the expert level. You have the SQL workshops where you can go ahead and get that hands-on experience as well. Other resources, I followed Microsoft Talks and Microsoft Learn to prepare my presentation. Um, and all of these resources I have provided in the previous slide. And my contact information at DBA Nuggets is my Twitter ID. That's the LinkedIn and the blog of mine. And I would like to thank the Dataverse organizers, Ben Wiesman and William Durkin, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to participate in first Dataverse conference. And I would like to thank my mentor, Gregor, for helping me prepare this presentation. Thanks so much. And thank you, Deborah, for moderating my session today. Thank you so much.